Let there be light. What's up, everyone? It's Spro here with his white machines and dead memes to talk to you about coffee stuff. Do an end of year Q&A, and I do these about every 6 months, and they never get easier. I have to be honest, these are always so awkward to film because I'm just very much a planner. And as always, I just reached out on Instagram. I said, hey, what questions do you have for me? And there's some interesting ones. So I picked out about 10 questions that I thought were interesting enough to talk about at length and maybe get people interested in what I'm saying, which is always surprising when that happens. So let's just dive directly into the questions. Oh, and I also, it's late afternoon here. I usually film in the morning, so I'm treating myself to a beer. So let's just dive in to some questions. Anyway, let's do it. So without any further ado, let's just dive directly into the drama. And I mean, well, coffee drama, I guess. I'll let you be the decision on that. I don't know if is it drama, maybe. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this, but I'm gonna talk about it here. So let's just get to the question. It says, please address all the drama around Sasa Sestic's PARAGON. Now, I don't remember seeing so much drama around this topic, but I do remember seeing that there was some conversations around just the price of it. And it was like a V60 with, a whiskey ball, like a stainless steel freezer ball that was right underneath the V60 that was held by something. And I don't know, it was whatever. There's a lot of conversation right now about brewing coffee over frozen balls and all this stuff, and I've tried it. I haven't done it enough to really come out with any sort of specific answers, whether it's good or it's bad or it does anything for that matter. So I'm going to save that for a later date. But the drama I think that this person is alluding to is just the price of it, as I mentioned. And I think that coffee stuff is just always going to be expensive. And I always will fight for people who are the first person to come up with something or the first person to build something, or even someone who's going to spend the time and money to R&D something. I don't know what it costs to do that. I don't know what it costs to put something into production. I don't know any of that stuff. So it's hard for me to say that it's overpriced from looking at it, knowing that you can build the same thing at home very simply with, a $10 freezer ball on Amazon and a V60. Maybe there's more to it than that, but that's what it looked like to me. Yes, from the outside looking in, it does look overpriced, but I don't know if there's drama around that so much. And the coffee industry is really big on doing things like that, and whether something is worth what you perceive it is, or maybe what you think it might be, or you think you're being tricked into paying more, that's all up to you. That's all up to your personal opinion. But honestly, I've got no real interest in the PARAGON. Maybe it comes out and it's great, and I'll maybe try and get one. But for now, it's just kind of floating out there in the ether of the many, many coffee drippers with also many, many different fads or whatever. Right now, everyone's brewing coffee over frozen steel balls. So that'll fade, I think, just like everything else. So I don't know if that's going to be a massive piece of the coffee puzzle moving forward, but, I could be wrong. So question number 2 is an interesting one. And I chose this because I've heard rumblings of this topic kind of up and down here and there, randomly on Instagram, but I haven't actually heard anybody really dive into this and talk about it at length. And I don't really have a ton to say about this, but I do think it's an interesting topic. And again, I'd like to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. But the question is the at-home barista movement hurting cafe owners? Part of me wants to say, who cares? Doesn't matter. I mean, I have friends who own cafes. I, of course, don't want them to go out of business, but if you can make better coffee at home, why go to a cafe? If your cafe is losing business because people are brewing coffee at home, moral of the story is brew better coffee, I guess. Maybe. Kind of. All right, so question number 3, this one actually makes sense talking about the previous question. And this is one that I've heard a lot, I get a lot, and I'll just get into it after I tell you the question. So this one says, I'm opening a coffee shop in 2023 and I'm petrified, but I feel like I have to do it. Any advice? So I have a lot of questions. Like, why are you petrified? Why do you feel like you have to do it? I think that a lot of us in the coffee industry feel like when we get into it, we put this rose-colored glasses on as we look at like the romance of owning a coffee shop. I'm thinking about oh, it'll be so great when I have, this is my own space and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And like, it's not romantic. I think that working at a coffee shop for about 2 years, I was over it. I mean, 6 months in, you could have asked me, day one, asked me if I wanted to open a coffee shop. Absolutely. But after about 6 months, I'm sure if you asked me if I want to open a coffee shop, I would say not even in the slightest. And I still say that to this day. For me, the bottom line is I just didn't want to be someone's boss. Because honestly, I just don't think I would be a good boss. I just don't. I'm not cut out for that. And so if you think you're cut out for it, go for it. But I think that if you haven't worked in a coffee shop, or you've only worked in a coffee shop for a few months and you're like, I'm going to invest in my own coffee shop, stick around a bit longer, 6 months to a year. I think if after a year of working in a coffee shop and tracking the orders of napkins and oat milk and dealing with customers and dealing with issues with your staff and all this stuff, there's a good chance that you might not want to do it anymore. That's just my take. Let's move on to the next one. All right, this question comes from Baristas Brew, and he asks, you've had a lot of coffee this year. What's been your favorite? Now, on the surface, it seems like a very simple question, and I think that a lot of coffee people would really struggle to answer this, and I'm sure if I were to ask him, he would probably struggle to answer this as well. So when I think about the most memorable coffee I've had recently, or even in the last year, there's only one that kind of sticks out because I bought it multiple times, which is pretty rare. Generally, I try a coffee here, I try a coffee there, and I kind of bounce around. But there was this one coffee that I bought, I think 3 or 4 different times within a span of a month or two. And I also bought a bag for my brother-in-law as a gift because I liked it that much. And it was from a local spot called Field Trip. And they're served at Scrimshaw Coffee, same owner. And it was a natural Colombian, like Manos Juntas, I believe. And it was, like I said, a naturally processed, fruity, berry forward. It was kind of like jammy. It had a little bit of a winey sort of hint to it, but not like over fermented. And I like that one. That was a really delicious coffee. Not only was it delicious, but it pulled just amazing looking shots. I think there was a short that I posted. It was a bottomless flow of that coffee. And I'll find it and post it here in this video if I can. And it was glorious. It was glorious. It's very rare that you get a coffee that just works in every single aspect. So it extracted beautifully, it looked gorgeous, it smelled gorgeous, it tasted gorgeous. It was just a wonderful coffee. And that's just probably the most memorable coffee I've had this year. All right, so next question. What is your dream/end goal for the channel, the Beans You Roast Coffee Cafe? Okay, so let's just get the cafe out of there. We've already talked about that, not opening a cafe. The Beans I Roast, it's something that I love doing. But it's gotten to a point where I think, in 2023, I'm going to probably wrap up doing Little Giant just because it's gotten to be one of those things that just takes a lot of time and effort and adds some stress to my life, but doesn't really add a whole lot of benefits. Whether it be monetary or not, it's just, I'm always in the back of my head whenever I do a release, I'm like, when I'm roasting, I'm thinking, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. And when I'm roasting on such a small roaster too, it's like 600 grams at a time. That's like 2 1/4 8-ounce bags when it comes out. So it just gets to be very, very repetitive and it loses a bit of its fun. And so I thought, well, maybe it's time I just, move on from that. Maybe it's time I just roast for myself, maybe get a coffee sponsor, hint, hint, that can provide a bunch of different cool coffees for me to brew and roast, or not roast, but brew and pull shots of and taste and just use them kind of like as, it's almost like a background thing in my videos where I just use, a certain brand's coffee. Yeah. So that's my end goal with Little Giant. I think Little Giant is kind of, the writing's on the wall. So I'm going to probably wrap that up in 2023. End goal wise, I think I'm there because the end goal for me was for this to be my job. I guess that wasn't the goal when I started it, but as it grew, that became the goal. So now that it's my job and it's something where I'm my own boss and I make my own schedule, can't really ask for much more than that. So basically, growth is great, more viewers is great, whatever that might be. Over time, hopefully I just can hold on to the vibe I have now, I guess. End goal, I'm here to have a solid career, to make a living making YouTube videos. But what else can I say on that one? Let's just move on to the next question. I think it's the last question. And this one comes from Proud Mary USA. And they ask, what are you most excited for in 2023? That's a good question. And the answer to that is kind of weird, I guess, because I feel like my answer to that question is most excited about the unknown. What new things are going to come out? What new items, new grinders, new espresso machines, new puck preps, new tampers, all the new coffee tools and coffee toys. What's going to come out in 2023? I'm definitely excited to see that. I also would say I'm excited to travel. I think that I would like to definitely go to Texas, visit Proud Mary in Austin, but also go to Portland, where SCA is this year. And then also just people and being able to interact with more people, talk with more people, have coffee with more people, and just spend time hanging out with other like-minded coffee folks. And now with my camera overheating and my beer on empty, I think it's time to wrap this one up. So I want to say just thanks to everyone for watching my videos this year, last year, year before, and since the beginning, or even if this is your first video, thanks for sticking around and taking a look and just watching me ramble for a bit. Of course, Happy New Year. Hopefully 2023 brings you all the happiness and good things and health and all that fun stuff that everyone says. And finally, just a quick note for people who watch the channel every week. I actually, for the first time in almost 5 years, I'm going to be taking some time off. So instead of saying I'll see y'all next week, I'll actually see y'all January 20th or something like that. So enjoy the next 2 weeks. Hopefully you enjoy your New Year's and stay safe. And as always, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Adios.